No, not yet. Just we'll wait for a minute.
Yeah.
So I guess we can start now, Prathamesh.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the fifth and the last day of the GST series organized by the Pune branch of ICAI. The series was designed in such a manner so as to exhaustively cover all the topics and amendments related to GST. For the last 4 days, we have various speakers covering important and burning topics in GST, such as real estate, amendments, and closure of books of accounts, which is very relevant with respect to the tax audit season that we have right now. Today, we are going to touch another such important topic, that is zero-rated supply and refunds. Zero-rated supply and refunds is a very important topic with respect to giving value addition to your clients. We have our speaker, CA Jignesh Kansara from Mumbai, who will be taking us through this important topic. We also have with us CA Ajinkya Randive, Managing Committee Member, Pune branch of ICAI. And I'll hand it over to Ajinkya.
Thank you, Prathamesh.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Pune branch of WIRC, I welcome our today's speaker, CA Jignesh Kansara sir, and all the participants to the 5 days GST series. Today is the last day of the 5-day series, and throughout the week we have tried to cover all the important aspects, maybe amendments or real estate, and today is the refund. So refund is a zero-rated supply and refund. It's very important from the point of view of our profession, because it is a new, you can look into it as a new opportunity also. So then I will won't take much time, and I will hand over to Prathamesh and we can move ahead. Thank you.
Before we move ahead, I'll like to introduce our speaker for the day, CA Jignesh Kansara. So CA Jignesh Kansara is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is an IDTC approved faculty on GST and has delivered more than 190 lectures on various issues in GST across India. He is also a member of the Indirect Tax Committee of the WIRC of ICAI for the period from FY 18-19 to 2021. He has also been a member of the Indirect Tax Committee of the Bombay Chartered Accountant Society for the period from 2021 to 22-23. He has very recently authored a book titled GST Refunds, Law, Procedure, Practice, Practical Guide, published by the GST Practitioners Association of Maharashtra. He is also visiting faculty at NASIN, a central government training institute for training various officers belonging to the central cadre. He is a founder member of the Confederation of GST Professionals and Industries. He has also recently authored a book on GST refunds published by the Goods and Service Tax Practitioners. He is a member of the Law and Representative Committee of GST PAM for 21-22 and 22-23. Without wasting much time, I'll hand it over to the speaker for the day, CA Jignesh Kansara. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Prathamesh, Ajinkya, other office bearers of Pune branch. At the outset, congratulations for conducting 5-day series on GST. Friend, GST is like a topic, more you read, more you get confused because new things keep on coming. But nevertheless, we should not stop from reading. Our profession is, I will say, reading is edifice of our profession. If we stop reading, we will no longer be a professional. To begin with, my good wishes for ongoing Paryushan festival and upcoming Ganesha festival. I wish Ganesha takes away all your bigness in all your refund application. I was supposed to speak yesterday, but due to certain exigencies, I could not. And Ravi has spoken on my behalf. To be honest, I was caught in a difficult situation, and Ravi has bailed me out. Otherwise, there would have been some chaos. So I put on record personal help provided by Ravi in this difficult situation. I'm also thankful to managing committee for giving me this leeway of shifting my session. I deeply apologize to all attendees as I could not speak yesterday. Today you had another session, but because of my non-attendance, it was shifted from Thursday to Friday. Friend, coming to topic, refunds. Since it is an exhaustive series, and I presume all attendees have basic understanding of refund process. We are in the 5th year of GST, and I'm sure attendees must have at least attended some session on GST refund, or they might have filed at least a single refund application. So today, what I'm going to discuss is finer issues of GST refund. I cannot touch base basic provision because within time limit of 2 hours, and within that 2 hours also we have to keep certain time for question and answer session. And friends, as a speaker, we learn most during question and answer session. If attendees ask good question, as a speaker, I may or may not be able to answer those questions, but certainly my attention is drawn to such issues. And if not today, at least tomorrow, I will have answer to that question. So with folded hands, I request, if you have any query on refund, last 15-20 minutes, we will reserve for question and answer. Let us deliberate on all the issues pertaining to refund. If you see in GST law, there are hardly few sections which are applicable to GST refund as such. You can say section 16 IGST, section 54 CGST, rule 89 to 97A, and host of circulars. That's it. But there is a lot of jurisprudence available on this topic. We had jurisprudence from excise regime, service tax regime, even VAT regime. The principle of that jurisprudence is applicable even today. Regime change ho gaya, that is fine. But what has been decided in past is applicable even in current regime. Like we have a famous decision of Mafatlal. That decision, to my mind, is applicable even today, though it was delivered in the context of past regime. So this issue of refund, we need to have knowledge of GST as well as past jurisprudence that will help us to handle difficult situation. So with this, let me start my session. I'm sharing my screen. Whether anyone can confirm my screen is visible? Is this visible?
No, sir.
Okay, just give me a minute. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for this feedback. Friends, to begin with, I will start with what is happening at the department. Some unfortunate event has happened maybe 3-4 months ago at Gurgaon. Let us not go into that incident, but Thereafter, many major changes have happened at department level as far as processing of refund is concerned. Recently, very recently, I would say, DGARM. DGARM is analytical wing of CBIC. This DGARM has started grading each and every refund application. So as and when you file refund application, DGRM collects a lot of information about your client, about your client supplier, and basis all this information, and on the basis of feedback received from range, that is your officer, proper officer, they grade each and every refund application. So typically, your refund application can be classified as risky, moderate risky, non-risky, like that. This is an indicator to proper officer about how to process this refund. If your refund application falls in risky category, believe me, you will have many questions. In fact, now DGRM is keeping tab on turnaround time of processing refund application. Within how many days refund has been processed by range. कितने दिन में सुपरिटेंडेंट ने या ऑफिसर ने आपका रिफंड प्रोसेस किया है, वहां तक टैब रखा जा रहा है. So this data is getting collected at back end. As far as Mumbai commissioners are concerned, they have started verifying compliance of Rule 96B. We will see in some time from now what is Rule 96B, but this has started. My understanding says at least CGST team is reviewing all refund application post disbursement within 3 months. State, there are some delay, but even they have started reviewing refund application. But center, they are doing perfectly fine. Within 3 months, they are reviewing each and every disbursed refund. As you all know, department is after Hawala and bogus credit, and all wrongdoers are highlighted, the registration numbers are cancelled, parameters are run, and in this process there are various artificial intelligence deployed by department. So your investigation team use a software called Netra. They also have something called BIFA and Advent. These three systems throws a lot of information about taxpayer, their supplier, their customer, and this is available to tax collector. Believe me, friends, future belongs to artificial intelligence, and application like Netra, BIFA, Advent will change the regime, will change the dimension of our practice. And by this time, central team as well as state team is free from baggage of past regime. State might be busy for a month in amnesty scheme, but thereafter they might be also free from past regime, and they will be able to devote more time to GST matter. This is what is happening at department level. Now, why refund is a perplexing situation? Why there are challenges when we handle refund matters? Friends, to begin with, though there is a dispute on this issue, but to my understanding, appeal is a statutory right. It is not constitutional right. And when I say statutory right, means taxpayer will have to comply with provision of the statute so to be eligible for this right. Like a simple example I will take. A refund application should be filed within a period of 2 years from relevant date. So if any taxpayer want to avail benefit of refund, he will have to comply with this mandate, full stop, nothing, no further concession, unless department extends this refund should be filed within the given period, otherwise it will lapse. That's why whenever we make any in the back of our mind, we should know for sure that it is statutory right and onus to prove eligibility is on claimant. मुझे प्रूव करना पड़ेगा कि मेरा क्लाइंट एलिजिबल है रिफंड के लिए. If I fail in my duty, you take it from me, your client will have refund rejection order. There are various issues where a more than one view is possible. There exists ambiguity. There are certain policy decisions where department has taken a stand. And howsoever and whatsoever you argue, department will say, sorry, we will not accept your view and we will not accept taxpayers' view. We will go by the policy decision. So in refund matters, there are many policy decisions which many times adversely affect claimant. As far as export of goods is concerned, there is not much dispute because a lot of documentation is available to prove that the goods have actually moved from India to place outside India. So there is not much dispute as far as export of goods are concerned. If your documentation is correct, good chance you will get refund. But that cannot be said about export of services. Right from service tax era, getting refund for export of service was a challenge. And that challenge is continuing even in GST regime. So we all know, to prove export of service, we are supposed to fulfill 5 cumulative conditions. If we could not fulfill all the 5, then our claim of export of service will not be established, and there might be, I would say, even a situation where your client might end up paying taxes. If you cannot prove this export of service, department will certainly take a view, or there is a possibility of taking a view that this is not an export service but a domestic supply. Please pay tax. The situation was same even in Sanvet era. In service tax, we were making refund application under Rule 5 of Sanvet credit rules, and situation was almost similar. In service tax, we had place of provision of service. In GST, we have something called place of supply. And unless we can prove that place of supply is outside India, we cannot prove it is export of service. Many times, department will argue that POS for this service is within the India. It is not recipient-based service, and therefore there might be litigation. Many times, department argues that services provided by a claimant is an intermediary service. You all might be knowing, for intermediary service, place of supply is within the India, and therefore there might be litigation on this issue. If we cross over to the issue of place of supply, next hurdle will be we have to establish that for export of services, exporter has actually realized foreign currency or Indian currency wherever permissible. Now, to establish this foreign currency inward remittance, we have to have some documents. A document might be FIRC. If FIRC is not available, other documentation like foreign inward remittance advice or any other document which can conclusively prove that yes, inward remittance has been received is must. Otherwise, there's a good chance that department may reject your refund application. Last but not least, a last condition of export of service says that supplier of service, that is your client, and recipient of service, that means your client's client, are not merely establishment of a distinct person in accordance with explanation 1 in section 8. So in initial period of GST, there was a dispute. If holding company is located in US, subsidiary is situated in India. If subsidiary is rendering service to holding company, which is in US, whether condition of export of service are fulfilled or not. We had favorable judgments in service tax era, but this issue was racked up by department and they were trying to challenge export of service. Thankfully, now we have a favorable circular from CBIC saying that subsidiary company in India and parent company in foreign country are two different persons and they are not hit by this explanation. So we have to establish conclusively that supplier and recipient are not mere establishment of a distinct person. Otherwise, export of service cannot be established. Friends, I have also seen in my appeal practice that many times our professional brothers, they fail to disclose or document proper records while filing refund application. They may have their own views. They may feel if we disclose more, there might be more queries. And this fear is not unfounded. But friends, at the same time, I draw your attention to section 54(4)(a). This section says, application shall be accompanied by such documentary evidence as may be prescribed to establish that refund is due to the applicant. Friends, remember, we discussed ago, it is statutory right. And therefore, onus is on us to prove that client is actually eligible for refund. And to prove or to discharge this burden, whatever documentation is required, we need to submit. If we could not, good chance we will have some litigation at some point in time. You may rely on Circular 125, Annexure A. This circular gives a illustrative list of documents to be submitted. But friends, this list is not exhaustive. Depending upon facts of your case, there might be requirement of few more documents. And if these documents are not self-incriminating, then there is no harm in submitting such documents. Like in case of export of service, if there is agreement between service provider and service recipient, no harm in submitting such agreement. In fact, this will help in establishing your claim of export of service. This is true in GST, but very much true in case of refund. There are frequent changes in law. Many circulars are issued, withdrawn, rescinded on this matter, and law gets amended on a regular basis. In addition, when we file refund application, we are supposed to file various statements. These statements are to be uploaded on portal, and many times filing such statement is a challenging task. Portal doesn't support. Even for a small error, the statements are not generated. JSON file could not be generated. Then you cannot upload those JSON file. So these are technical challenges also when we apply for refund. Having discussed certain challenges, let us now discuss what are the hurdles or barriers in entire refund process. So friends, you might be knowing that first of all, we are supposed to file online refund application in form RFD01. We are supposed to attach various documents and statement, and thereafter we can file RFD01 online on the portal. Thereafter, first stage is called RFD02 versus RFD03 stage. What is RFD02? It is acknowledgement of the refund application. What is RFD03? It is called deficiency memo. So as per rules, the moment taxpayer uploads refund application, what he gets is provisional acknowledgement. except in case of excess cash in cash ledger. In all other refund application, the applicant never gets acknowledgement immediately. As per rules, officer has got time limit of 15 days to either issue acknowledgement or deficiency memo. Now, what is acknowledgement? Acknowledgement means that officer has gone through your application and he is of a prima facie view that documents are complete in all respect. Documentation ठीक ठाक है, जो चाहिए था वो उनको मिल गया है. That is RFD 02. What is RFD 03? It is deficiency. If officer feels that certain documents were to be uploaded, but claimant has not uploaded those documents, then officer will reject your application by issuing RFD 03. The moment application is rejected, claimant will have to refile or resubmit a refund application. So first barrier of refund process is getting RFD 02. अगर आपको RFD 02 नहीं मिला, unfortunately RFD 03 मिल गया, then you are at ground zero. You will have to again start from scratch. So पहला issue आएगा, आपको RFD 02 मिलना चाहिए. And for that, you will have to submit proper documents. Once you have crossed this barrier, second barrier to my understanding is show cause notice. If officer feels that he needs some clarification or he has some query about your claim of refund, he can issue show cause notice online in form RFD 08. Once show cause notice has been issued, claimant will have to file his reply online within 15 days in form RFD 09. So आपका second barrier आया RFD 08. अगर show cause आया है, you need to reply within 15 days and ensure that your officer is satisfied that all the allegations which he has raised in show cause notice are properly met. If you have crossed these first two barriers, then your client will get something called RFD 06, refund sanction order. RFD 06 is common for sanction as well as rejection. If you successfully complete these barriers, you will get RFD 06, sanctioning refund amount. Does this mean you are in safe zone? Answer is no. Even after getting refund, there are certain challenges. So third barrier, if commissioner, means your jurisdictional commissioner, or other than jurisdictional, means if you are in state, then central commissioner, or if you are with central, then state commissioner feels that this refund should not have been granted, then appeal can be filed by department with appellate authority within a time limit of 6 months plus 1 month extension. So within 7 months, the department can also file appeal against a refund order. Fourth barrier, like income tax section 263, we have something called review in GST. So all refund which are disbursed are regularly reviewed by the commissioner. And if they feel that certain things needs further investigation or refund was erroneously sanctioned, then officer can, commissioner can review such refund orders. This was the fourth barrier. Fifth barrier, so there is doubt on this issue. Department can also issue show cause notice for erroneous refund post disbursement of refund. Now you may ask, why department should issue show cause notice? We have filed application, they agreed with our view, and thereafter department has sanctioned our refund. Now what is the point in raising show cause notice? Once again, Is there any sanctity of RFD 06, or department will keep on, raking up these issues? So your view is partially correct. There are judgments to the effect from the old regime as well as customs, which says the department post disbursement of a refund cannot issue so-called notice. Unfortunately, we had an adverse judgment of Orissa High Court in case of Ganesh Ors, a recent judgment, maybe 6 months ago, where Orissa High Court has observed that on a mere reading of Section 74, there is no prohibition or no restriction on the department, suggesting that department cannot issue so-called notice post disbursement. And unfortunately, leave petition filed against this order has also been dismissed in limine without giving any reason. Supreme Court refused to interfere in this matter. So friends, refusal doesn't mean that Supreme Court has agreed to view of Orissa High Court. But as of now, Orissa High Court judgment stands. Though there are contrary judgments, but a view is possible that department can also issue so-called notice for erroneous refund post disbursement. So friends, these 5 barriers makes a refund process a perplexing process. कोई sanctity नहीं है. They can rake up issue again and again. Unless your documentation is right, unless you are on the right side of law, there's a good chance that you will have litigation. I will handle 9610, 89, 4A and 4B subsequently. Now, let us see recent changes in refund process. So this changes is very recent, last month only. Rule 89.4 deals with refund on export of goods without payment of tax and export of services without payment of tax. And for this purpose, Rule 89.4 has given some formula. Formula is akin to an old Dutch formula of Section 80 HSC of income tax. Formula almost same hand. Now, there is some change in Rule 89.4, and this is going to disturb each and every exporter of goods. If your client is exporting goods out of India on LUT, that is without payment of IGST, then value of goods exported shall be taken as FOB, that is FOB value disclosed in shipping bill, or value declared in export invoice, whichever is less. So assuming your client is exporting goods having FOB value 100 and in invoice value is mentioned 120 because 20 represents insurance and freight. The Incoterms of this supply was CIF. So obviously exporter will recover insurance and freight also in his invoice. So your client has raised invoice of 120, whereas shipping bill FOB value 100. After this amendment, export value will be treated only as 100 and not 120. In export formula, numerator consists of value of export of goods. Denominator consists of total turnover. So question may arise that what will be the situation of turnover in this case, whether turnover, total turnover will be 120 or 100, assuming there is no other supply. If you say 120, then denominator is on a higher side. Obviously, proportion will be adversely affected and refund quantum will come down. And if you say it is 120, if you say it is 100 only, then there will not be much impact unless your client is a part exporter. When I'm saying part exporter means he's making domestic supply as well as export supply. Now, on this issue, there is no clarification. We have circular number 147 in past, which says that total turnover will be on the same line like numerator. Though this clarification was issued in different context, but to my understanding, this clarification still holds water even today. And so if I am saying that only FOB value should be considered for export, then even for total turnover, only FOB value should be considered. I cannot have CIF for denominator and FOB for numerator. However, there is no clarification, and department may raise this issue during refund process. I'm sure you might be aware that all DGFT benefits like your MEIS or road tape, etc., is linked to FOB value only. They never recognize CIF value. And I guess GST law is also moving in that direction. Good chance your client's refund amount will go down. Now you may ask, this amendment is prospective or retrospective? To my understanding, relying on Supreme Court judgment, it was constitutional bench of Supreme Court in case of Vatika Township. To my understanding, since this amendment adversely affects taxpayer, and since notification is silent about its effect, to my view, this amendment applies to only those exports which are being made on or after 5th July. Even if I am filing old refund application for which export has happened much before 5th July, this amended rule should not have application. But of course, department can raise this issue and there might be some litigation on this. Friends, this rule is not applicable if goods are exported on payment of tax. So if IGST paid goods are exported, then your client gets automatic refund from customs authority. Your client is not supposed to file any refund application, and in that situation, this rule will not have any effect. Now, coming to legal issue, whether this amendment is correct. If you see this amendment says, for the purpose of this rule, value of goods exported out of India shall be taken as. Now, friends, in refund formula, there is nothing like value of goods exported. Terminology used in refund formula is turnover of zero-rated supply of goods. So if we see this versus this, there is some confusion, but more or less we know intention is very clear. So we can argue on this point, but intention is very clear that value of export or turnover of zero-rated supply of goods will be now lower of FOB or invoice value. But is this correct? If you go to section 9, section 9 is a levy section. Section 9 refers to section 15. And section 15 says that unless supplier and recipient are related, and unless price is not the sole consideration, then whatever invoice value, that value will become transaction value. So if when section says that invoice value, which is CIF value in my case, will become transaction value, how can rule modify value in case of export? That's a question. And I'm sure there might be litigation on this issue. If you see any shipping bill, on each and every shipping bill, exporter is supposed to mention FOB value plus insurance plus freight, compulsory. So in a way, irrespective of income terms, whether it is CIP, CIF, FOB, whatever, DDP, shipping bill में CIF का value लिखा हुआ है, because FOB plus insurance plus freight is nothing but CIF. In fact, if you see past circular number 37 and circular number 125, very clearly circular has mentioned that if there is a difference between value mentioned in shipping bill and value mentioned in invoice, then lower of the two should be considered for the purpose of refund. But nowhere it was ever mentioned that FOB value should be considered. Value as per shipping bill. Understood? Which value? Shipping bill has both the values, CIF or FOB. So we are always arguing that yes, there is CIF value, consider those values. But now, after amendment, department will say, sorry, we will go by FOB value, and there might be some impact on refund. Friends, genesis of this amendment may be coming from CAG observation. In any case, damage has already been done. But my humble question, when exporter is exporting on CIF basis, is he not earning foreign exchange for that insurance and freight? And if yes, then what is the logic in denying refund on such matters? Even if you go by Constitution of India, I believe this amendment is discriminatory. FOB value, FOB exporter will not have any impact. CIF exporter will be affected. Now there is no reasoning for discriminating FOB exporter vis-a-vis CIF exporter. Both are import terms. Both are terms of supply. But only future will tell whether court accepts this argument or we will have to go by FOB. One more amendment, recredit of ITC. Friends, many times, if your refund application is reviewed by commissioner, and if authority alleges that there is a situation of erroneous refund, by erroneous I mean you were not supposed to get this refund, but you have received those refund, so kindly pay back. Many times taxpayer, just to avoid litigation, also agrees to such demand and pays back this refund. Now, when refund application was made, or when supply with payment of tax was made, taxpayer has paid tax out of credit ledger. To that extent, his credit ledger balance was reduced, and subsequently he was compensated by way of refund. Now, department is asking taxpayer to pay back a refund amount. So obviously, taxpayer will say, "ठीक है, you want amount, I will pay back with interest, no problem. I don't want dispute. But at least recredit amount which was debited earlier, and his demand is justified. कि जो मेरा you cannot there cannot be double jeopardy on me. आप पहले क्रेडिट भी लेके जाते हो, फिर कैश भी मांगोगे मुझसे. At least pay back my credit, recredit my credit to my ledger." Till 4th July 2022, there was no provision justifying this argument. Officers were agreeing to this argument. It's a logical argument, but there was no legal provision. Fortunately, Rule 86(4)(b) has been introduced, and this rule says that if RTP deposits the amount of erroneous refund in cash, you may ask, can I not pay? Can't I pay through electronic credit ledger? Answer is no. If you have received refund in cash, its repayment will also happen only in cash. And now we have also circular clarifying this provision. So repayment will happen only in cash with interest, and If so-cause notice is issued under section 74, then there might be even penalty. So if erroneous refund is paid back in cash along with interest and penalty, if applicable, and DRC 03 has been filed. Now this payback might be on the own account of exporter, means उसने अपने आप ही payback कर दिया, or this payback might be pursuant to some communication by the department. Not so cause, communication. I am saying communication, not so cause. In both the situation, taxpayer is eligible for amount of tax which he has paid back, and that amount will be recredited to his electronic credit ledger by proper officer. Proper officer will upload a form called PMT03A, and amount will be created. Now this facility of free credit is not available in case of all erroneous refund situation. Only in this limited 3 situation, 86(4)(b) allows recredit. Unfortunately, in case of IGST paid extra of service, Rule 86(4)(b) benefit is not available. Now my question to this audience: if there is say erroneous refund, whether interest is payable? Logically yes, legally my understanding says no. If you see 73(1), 74(1), there is no mention about interest. 74(5), 73(5) indirectly gives the impression that interest needs to be paid. But friends, section 73 and 74 is just a machinery provision. Agar interest lena hai mujhse, so that should be established by way of section 50. And friends, section 50 agar aap read karoge, there is no provision which suggests that interest is payable on erroneous refund. However, this rule says that unless tax with interest and penalty applicable is paid back, department will not recredit ITC to the ledger of taxpayer. So the dispute here. And quite possible, taxpayer on a practical ground may agree to pay interest. Right now, the process of recredit is offline. So we will have to raise a request to our jurisdictional officer asking for recredit. Before that, we are required to file DRC 03 online. When we file DRC 03, we have to mention reason for filing this DRC. And reason should be very specifically mentioned that it is deposit of erroneous refund. Otherwise, we may again face a challenge. Let me handle few issues of inverted duty refund. I'm not going to speak much on export of goods because there is not much issues involved. Export of service, of course, there are issues we will handle in subsequent slides. But inverted duty refund is talk of the town. Great chance that if you apply for inverted duty refund, you will receive so-cause. So let us understand what are the best practices to be followed when we apply for inverted duty refund. As I said earlier, onus is on claimant. First of all, claimant will have to prove that there is an inverted duty structure. By that I mean rate of tax on input should be higher than rate of tax on output, and output should not be nil rated or exempt. अगर nil rated exempt है तो वो inverted में नहीं आएगा. There should be some rate, and that rate of output supply should be lower than rate of tax on input supply. This is the first burden which every refund claimant will have to prove. Otherwise, he has no chance of getting inverted duty refund. Once this is handled, second thing, every refund applicant, if he is applying for inverted duty refund, should refer notification number 5 by 2017 CTR, Central Tax Rate. This notification lists out outward supply on which no inverted duty refund will be allowed. Even if there is an inversion, even if rate of tax on output is lower than input, for all outward supplies mentioned in notification number 5 by 2017 CTR, no inverted duty refund will be allowed. ये नहीं मिलेगा, simple. Once you handle these two hurdles, then if there is balance in your credit ledger, quite possible that there might be inverted duty structure in your case, but you are consuming those credits. आपके इलेक्ट्रॉनिक क्रेडिट लेजर में बैलेंस ही नहीं बचा है, तो भी आपको रिफंड नहीं मिलेगा. तो ये तीन सिचुएशन हैंडल करने के बाद you are eligible to apply for an inverted duty refund. And there are issues here. Very rare that your client might be dealing only in one commodity or two commodity. Generally, he deals in multiple commodities, multiple outward supplies honge, different commodities ke. Now, some commodities might be under inverted duty structure, some may not be under inverted duty structure. तो क्या आपके क्लाइंट को रिफंड मिलेगा? To my understanding, of course, yes. If you fulfill these three conditions, then you are eligible for applying inverted duty refund. Now you may ask that few inputs are at different rate, other inputs are at different rate. How do I work out ITC for the purpose of inverted duty refund? मेरा 5% वाला भी है, 12 वाला भी, 18 वाला भी है, तो मुझे कौन सा ITC लेना है? Can I take all three, or I need to take only those ITC where I can establish inverted duty structure? So friend, this issue is already handled by or already clarified by CBIC Circular 125, and very aptly circular says where there are multiple inputs. Sorry. Yeah. Here, where there are multiple inputs affecting different rate of tax, in formula provided in Rule 89.5, the term net ITC covers ITC availed on all inputs in the relevant period, irrespective of rate of tax. यानी आपको जितना भी ITC है सब क्लब करना पड़ेगा. You need not separate out any ITC. Friends, you all know, in case of inverted duty refund, ITC on capital goods and services are not to be considered. Recently, from July 2022, there is an amendment in Rule 89.5 formula. So this formula we use to derive quantum of inverted duty refund. हमें कितना refund मिलेगा inverted duty में? That is derived through this formula, and that formula has amended very recently from 5th July. So before amendment, you can see on your left hand side there is a left hand side of table. This was a formula, and now 5th July onwards, this is the formula. Now you may ask, what are the changes? So friends, if you can see here, till this stage there is no change. Till this stage, everything remains same. From this point onwards, this addition have been made. Only this portion. Otherwise, there is no change. Now you may say, why these changes were made? So you might be recalling this inverted duty refund issue was originally argued at Gujarat High Court. Taxpayer got favorable judgment. Similar matter arose in case of another company in Madras, taxpayer got negative judgment. Matter ultimately traveled to Supreme Court. Supreme Court agreed with Madras High Court judgment, and Gujarat High Court judgment was overruled. But Supreme Court, in his not so favorable judgment, with due respect, has directed or suggested GST Council to take a relook at the formula. And following this suggestion, these changes are now made in the formula. Unfortunately, this formula is not updated at the portal. So if you are applying refund for the month of July 2022, even today, portal calculates refund amount as per old formula, and I guess they will take some time to make changes at portal. Let us understand what are the changes. To understand this, let us have a practical illustration. A simple example. A taxpayer is dealing in two types of goods or services. Where inverted duty structure exists, turnover of that supply is 1 crore, and there GST will be 5%. Other supplies where there is no inverted duty structure, turnover is 2 crore and tax rate is 18%. Total ITC on inputs for both these supply together is 18 lakh rupees, and total ITC on services is 10 lakh rupees. So cumulative ITC 18 plus 10, 28, 18 for goods, 10 for services. So before amendment, formula runs like this. Turnover of inverted duty goods or service, that is 1 crore, divided by total turnover, that is 3 crore, 1 plus 2, 3, into net ITC, and net ITC for the purpose of inverted duty refund means only inputs, that is 18 lakh rupees. So 1 by 3 into 18, that is 6 lakhs, minus 5 lakh, because obviously this 5 lakh rupees has been paid out of ITC only. So anyway, that has been consumed. Further refund is not possible. So 6 minus 5, 1 lakh. So without amendment, refund eligible was only 1 lakh. Post amendment, this remains same. When this remains same, but now this portion has been added. This 5 lakh will be multiplied by ITC on inputs divided by ITC on inputs plus input services. So in a way, this reduction amount will be reduced because now this reduction will be at a proportionate level. Earlier it was at gross level, now at proportionate level, and therefore refund amount will be a bit higher. In this situation, refund will be around 2.78 lakhs. These are favorable changes. Even today, even after Supreme Court suggestion, Council has not considered ITC on capital goods. So here it is ITC on inputs plus input services, and here it is ITC only on inputs. So capital goods doesn't come here in numerator or in denominator. Friends, in inverted duty, there was one more issue. Let's take a practical example. And this example, you will face many situations like this. There is something called recipient-based partial exemption. And depending upon status of recipient, certain partial exemption or reduction in rate are granted by some beneficial notification. So one such notification is in relation to ethanol. Now, you know, ethanol, India is coming out big way in ethanol, and now ethanol is being mixed with petrol so that our consumption, our dependency on Gulf countries reduce. So to promote this ethanol story, what has been done? That if any person is supplying ethanol to oil marketing companies, it is called OMC, then rate of tax is 5%, concessional rate. But if such ethanol is supplied to non-OMC, any ordinary guy, any ordinary company, then rate remains 18%. And that's why it is called recipient-based partial exemption. Now consider a case, your client is dealing in ethanol. He has purchased ethanol from some manufacturer or some supplier. Your client is non-OMC. Therefore, supplier will charge 18% GST to your client. And your client is supplying to, say, OMC companies, Reliance, Shell, etc. So your client will charge only 5%. Question may arise whether your client is eligible for inverted duty refund. Logically, answer says yes, because there is inverted duty structure here. However, there was a circular number 135, para 3.2, which says no such refund is possible. Because circular has taken a view that in case of trading, it is obviously trading of ethanol, trading of goods, inverted duty refund is not possible. Matter went to various high courts. Guwahati High Court, Calcutta High Court, Rajasthan High Court has struck down this para, saying that it is not in line with section 54(3)(2). Ultimately, board has realized their mistake, and now that para has been modified, saying that if there is an inverted duty structure on account of concessional rate notification, then the refund is eligible. Otherwise, there will not be any refund. So assuming a diamond, in case of diamond, earlier rate was 3%, then it was reduced to 0.25. And this is not by way of concession notification. Tariff rate change hua from 3 to 0.25. 3% से 0.25 हो गया. In that situation, the refund is not permitted because client will be governed by this situation. But if there is some concessional notification, then the refund is permitted. So again, a welcome change. This will avoid a lot of dispute. A negative change, or I will say not negative change, it is more of a clarificatory. You might be knowing there is something called risky exporters verification. So friends, in case of export of goods with payment of IGST, exporter is getting automatic refund from the customs authority without any human intervention. If documents are correct, your client will get refund. This situation was exploited by some wrongdoers and fraudulent refunds were claimed. This came to the knowledge of department, and department has started something called risky exporters verification. So department was carrying out verification of exporter, their location, as well as they were verifying ITC of exporter, whether this ITC is genuine. If ITC is genuine, then they will give you a refund. Otherwise, they will not. Now, this process was taking longer time, many times 6 months, 8 months. Till that time, refunds and all other benefits were held up. Matter went to court. In court, it was argued that there is no provision under Rule 96 which allows department to withhold refund on such grounds. Realizing this mistake, now Rule 96 4C has been introduced, saying that if commissioner or officer empowered by commissioner is of the opinion that verification of exporter or its ITC is required, then unless such verification is complete, the refund can be withheld. So now rights have been given, formal rights have been given, I would say, to the department to withheld refund in case of risky exporters verification. As I said, in case of IGST paid export, your clients are getting, of course, in case of goods only, not service. In case of goods, your clients are getting automatic refund based on the basis of invoice, shipping bill, GSTR1 and 3B. But sometimes you may face challenges also. Suppose a situation where commissioner has requested custom authorities to withhold refund, or risky exporters verification is on, and that's why refunds are withheld. In that situation, till now, matter was hanging in balance. Custom authorities will not get into GST. GST authorities has no role to play in this. And taxpayer was running from post to pillar. With this amendment, Rule 96(5) has been inserted. In a situation where refund is withheld on the request of jurisdictional commissioner or on the ground of risky exporters verification, automatic refund application, that is your IGST paid export of goods, will be transmitted from custom officers to your proper officer, that is your range or your sales tax officer, automatically by system. System will generate IFD01, and by that process, your file will move from custom authorities to your proper officer. And then proper officer will be empowered to handle your refund application. Similarly, 96B has been introduced. If custom authority feels that export is in a violation of Customs Act, what will happen to my refund application? Who will adjudicate my matter? How it will move? There was no answer till now. Now, through similar technique, this file will be automatically transferred by system from customs authority to jurisdictional officer, and jurisdictional officer will handle this refund application as if it is normal refund situation. At least you will have some authority to answer, and if you can answer them properly, at least you will have some order. Till now, everything was in limbo. One more amendment, but I would say negative amendment. Friends, by this time you might be knowing that there is a time limit in GST for issuance of SOCOs as well as for adjudication. दोनों के लिए time limit GST में है opportunity. In normal situation, time limit for issuance of SOCOs notice is 2 years and 9 months from due date of relevant annual return. In case of refund, that time limit is 2 years and 9 months from the date of sanctioning of refund. If department can allege that there is a situation of fraud, etc., then that time limit is 4 years and 6 months from the date of refund. Friends, by this logic, since we are now into 5th year of GST, 5 years is already over, and into 6th year of GST, it is quite possible that some of the refunds are now time barred as far as SOCOs notice or order is concerned. Department cannot question those refunds now. Department realized that because of COVID, they could not catch hold of such people. So they've extended time limit by saying that period starting from 1st March 2020 to 28th February 2022, virtually 2 years COVID period, will now be excluded from 3 years limitation period. So by this logic, many refund applications, many refund which are disbursed earlier can now be questioned. So cause notice can be issued, and if found erroneous, order can also be issued because of this amendment. On a similar ground, similar logic, department has given extension of time even for filing refund application. So we know we have to file refund application within a period of 2 years from relevant date. Relevant date has been defined for different situation in the law. Because of COVID, many people could not apply to their refunds, their refund applications could not be filed within a period of 2 years, and matter went to courts. In fact, there was even a circular notification, I would say, extending time, but that was for a very shorter period. So matter went to court. In fact, Supreme Court has given extension of time limit because of COVID. And Bombay High Court has said that this time limit is also applicable in case of refund. This time limit is not only for replying notices, even this is applicable even for refund situation. So CBIC has accepted such judgment. An excluded period from 1st March 20 to 28th February 22 from the limitation period. So ये limitation में count नहीं होगा. So quite possible that some of your refund application might have been time barred, but because of this extension or this exclusion, you can still file them. However, there's a dispute also here. If you go by Supreme Court order dated 10 January, Supreme Court has very clearly said that person shall also be entitled for 90 days extra extension from 1st March 2022. Whereas this notification gives extension only up to 28th March 2022. There is some clash here. If your client needs some more extension, then you can praise the Supreme Court order. You may have to file writ. The department will not go beyond this circular. And depending upon your arguments, good chance. In fact, I'm aware of few litigations which has already been filed at Bombay High Court on this issue. Good chance taxpayer may get some benefit. But all in all, once again, the refund should be filed within the time. If could not be filed, please make use of this extension. If eligible, please file it right now. One issue which might be faced by many SEZ recipient. So friends, take a situation. I am a DTA supplier. I am situated in domestic tariff area, that is normal area outside SEZ. And I am providing some service or some goods to SEZ unit. Generally, SEZ unit will not accept any invoice with tax. They will say, sorry, you claim refund. I am not going to go and claim refund. Generally, none of the SEZ will accept invoice with tax because they will say you will go and claim zero-rated refund. Assume a situation, for some reason, your client who is in SEZ has accepted invoice with GST and paid to the supplier. Normal supply जैसा लिया वैसा लेके टैक्स भर दिया, supplier को पे कर दिया, supplier छूटा हो गया. Now SEZ is thinking, can he go for a refund? Whether SEZ client can go for refund? To my understanding, of course, yes, because intention of refund process was to ensure that domestic taxes are not transferred along with goods or service. And SEZ are meant for supplying on an export basis. That was a logical argument. But if you see department's view, department says, look at Rule 89, second proviso. This second proviso says that in case of supply to SEZ, application for refund shall be filed by supplier, supplier. Supplier of goods can file, supplier of service can file, whereas you are recipient of goods or service, so sorry, we will not give you refund. And this argument was accepted in one advanced ruling, Vachi International. Matter went to court. In court, taxpayer argued that look at section 54(1). This section deals with machinery provision for refund. Refund कैसे मिलेगा? ये 54(1) में लिखा है. This section starts with any person. It doesn't start with supplier of goods or service or recipient of goods or service. It says any person. Any person also includes recipient of goods or recipient of service, and therefore we are eligible. Madras High Court in Platinum Holding have given a favorable verdict saying that on a conjoint reading of 54 and 89, if there is a clash between Act and rules, obviously Act will prevail. Rule is subordinate to Act. So High Court took a view that even SZ recipient are eligible for refund. And fortunately, this ruling has been followed by many other High Court judgments. So now it is established. Of course, Supreme Court says otherwise. Otherwise, it is established that SZ recipient, if they are accepting any invoice with tax, they are also eligible for refund. Friends, now I am going to deal with something of very difficult proposition called 9610, 894A, 894B. These are advanced issues of GST refund. Friends, believe me, good chance if you are applying for refund, you will come across such situation. So let me first explain what is 9610. If you read this rule, you will realize that this rule was amended 6 times till March 2020. This was introduced somewhere in October 2017, and by March 2020 it was amended 6 times. पहले कुछ किया, फिर और amend किया, फिर rollback किया, and खिचड़ी was made. And this is one of the most litigious provision of GST. So what does this rule says? I'm trying to explain in a very easy language. Please bear with me, but I will try to simplify as much as possible. This provision says that this rule 9610 will be hit only if your client is either under situation A or situation B. If you are hit by 9610, then what will happen? Then your client who is exporting goods cannot export with payment of tax. यानी वो IGST लगा के एक्सपोर्ट नहीं कर सकता है, यानी उसे ऑटोमेटिक रिफंड नहीं मिलने वाला है. If eligible, he will have to file refund application with the department and claim eligible refund amount. So we know now that if 9610 is attracted in your client case, then client cannot export with payment of tax. So when 9610 will be made applicable? Situation A or situation B. What does situation A says? Situation A says, if exporter receives supply on which following benefits have been availed by his supplier, not by him, by supplier. अगर उसको कोई supply मिली जिसके ऊपर उनकी supplier ने ये benefits लिए हैं, then he is caught by 9610. So which are these benefits? Notification number 48 by 2017. What does this notification says? Deemed export. So friends, we have export, physical export, and we have something called deemed export. So if deemed export benefit has been availed, wherein Your client who is exporter is procuring goods domestically within India without payment of tax. So will pay tax on this situation. Supplier will pay the tax and supplier will get refund. Your client will not pay any tax by virtue of notification number 48 by 2017. However, if your client is procuring capital goods under EPCG scheme, then this notification, then there is no issue. If under export promotion credit guarantee scheme, if your client is procuring goods domestically without tax, then your client is not hit by 9610. Otherwise, he is hit by 9610. Or if your client is procuring goods from supplier. Now, you know, there is something called 0.10 supply. Supplier can supply goods to merchant exporter at a concessional rate of 0.05% GST, 0.05% IGST, say SGST, cumulatively 0.10% IGST. ये 2017 में आया था. Intention was very clear that exporter ITC should not be blocked, their working capital should not be blocked. So suppliers were allowed to make supply to merchant exporter at a concessional rate. So if your client is merchant exporter and if he's availing supply at concessional rate, then also your client is hit by 9610. Or situation B, where your client himself, who is an exporter, has availed benefit of notification number 78 by 2017 customs or 79 2017 by customs, then also is hit by 9610. What does this notification says? This notification says that if EIU, EOU means export oriented unit. If EOU is importing goods without payment of IGST and compensation sales, then they are hit. If your client is importing goods under advance authorization, and this import under this advance authorization is without IGST and compensation sales, then again is hit by 9610. However, if capital goods are imported under EPCG scheme, like here also, then 9610 will not be attempted. बहुत difficult है, इसको simple कर लेते हैं. Government says that in all this supply, either you are not paying any tax or while you are procuring, means on inward supply, you are not paying any tax, or you are paying only a nominal tax. Yeah, nominal tax. Or in these three situations, exporter is not paying any tax. We are giving you concession on your inward side. Then when you export, don't ask for another exemption or another benefit by exporting goods on payment of tax. इनवर्ड पे हम गवर्नमेंट कुछ मिला नहीं, और आउटवर्ड पे अगर आप विथ टैक्स एक्सपोर्ट करोगे तो गवर्नमेंट को भी पैसा रिफंड करना पड़ेगा. गवर्नमेंट विल हैव टू पे दिस अमाउंट, उनको नुकसान होगा, कैश फ्लो सिचुएशन आएगा. सो दिस इज नॉट अलाउड. दैट्स व्हाट 9610 says. Now suppose your client has erroneously exported, has availed his benefits and exported with payment of tax. Then your client has violated 9610. Good chance your client will get a notice. Earlier notice was issued by DRI and now by range. अगर notice आई तो क्या option है? So this notice says, alleges that your client has availed to benefit on inward side as well as outward side, which was not allowed. So payback, wrongly availed refund, or erroneous refund. In this situation, you have three options. First option, you have availed these exemptions, concessions, pay back these benefits with interest. or you have wrongly availed IGST paid export refund, surrender those refund with interest. अब उसको वापस कर दो. If you pay back like this, remember rule 86(4)(b), you are eligible for recredit. जो पहले आपने देख लिया, recredit eligible हो जाएगा आपको. या तीसरा है challenge the wire of 9610. बहुत सारी कंपनियों ने किया है, बहुत सारे हाई कोर्ट्स में पेंडिंग है. अनफॉर्चुनेटली कोई रिजल्ट नहीं आया है, बट योर क्लाइंट विल बी at one of these three situations, depending upon what is beneficial and depending upon risk appetite. You will have to advise your client to take one position and go ahead. And friends, believe me, 96 में बहुत वायलेशन आया है और इसमें बहुत काम है. थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट है. If you are listening it for the first time, I'm sure you may be facing some issue, because this involves customs as well as GST provisions. But yes, it is hot cake since last 3 years. ये वायलेशन तो बहुत कॉमन है. Merchant exporters are procuring at concessional rate and exporting goods with tax and availing both the benefit. So if this violation has happened, you will have to advise your client properly. Now friends, 9610 के बाद हम 89(4)(b) पे जाते हैं, because ये सब brother sister ही है. 9610 says that if you have availed any of these benefits, then you cannot export goods with payment of tax. Agreed? With payment नहीं करूंगा, without कर सकता हूं. Yes, there is no prohibition. If I export without payment of tax, can I claim refund? Answer is yes. Can I claim refund under normal process of rule 89(4)? Answer is no. Why no? Sir, 89(4) में तो फॉर्मूला वाला आंसर आएगा. 89(4) में अगर आप जाओगे तो आपके क्लाइंट को नुकसान होने वाला है, बिकॉज 89(4) में तो प्रोपोर्शनेट फॉर्मूला आने वाला है, प्रोपोर्शनेट रिफंड आएगा. So in that situation, government has realized that for such a special situation, they need a special scheme or special refund situation, and that's why two different rules, 89(4)(a) and 4)(b) has been drafted. Again, 89(4)(a), 4)(b) has been amended many times, like 9610, because they all go hand in hand. Presently, what is the position? I will explain to you. Simple है बहुत. Drafted थोड़ा difficult हुआ है, but otherwise it is simple. So 89(4)(b) says that if concessional benefit of 0.10 has been availed, or if EOU procured goods without payment of IGST and cess, or if your client has imported goods under advance authorization license, then if your client has paid any GST, he can claim ITC, and refund of that ITC is allowed. Plus ITC in respect of other input and input services will also be allowed. However, only to the extent used in making such export of goods. इसका मतलब क्या हो कि बाकी जो आपके ITC है, that will be allowed only to the extent used in making such export of goods. यानी ऐसे ITC जिसका एक्सपोर्ट से कोई लेना देना नहीं है, वो आपको 89(4)(b) में नहीं मिलेगा. 89(4) का फॉर्मूला में ऐसा 1-to-1 रिलेशन नहीं है, नेक्सस नहीं है, बट 89(4)(b) में says that all other inputs and input services का जो ITC है, that will be allowed only to the extent used in making such export of goods. तो यहाँ 1-to-1 नेक्सस प्रूव करना पड़ेगा. 89(4)(b) में कोई फॉर्मूला नहीं है, If you want to apply refund under 89(4)(b), then you will have to select category as any other category. There are various categories available on the portal. You will have to select the button. So if you are falling under 89(4)(b), if this is happening in your client's case, then he's under 89(4)(b), and he will have to apply under any other category. No formula. You will have to establish a nexus, and then only refund will be granted. Similarly, if your client is availing supply from a supplier who has availed benefit of notification number 48 by 2017, that is deemed export, then since deemed export में supplier आपके जो client है तो tax भरा ही नहीं है, tax तो भरा है आपके client के supplier में, so there is no question of your client getting any refund, and that's why this rule says refund of ITC availed in respect of other inputs and input services used in making zero date supply of goods service shall be granted. यानी बाकी services पे, बाकी inputs पे which are used for making zero date supply, that will only be granted. Otherwise refund नहीं मिलेगा. Again, any other category, no formula. थोड़ा सा difficult है, but you will have to bear with me. Friends, I am now at 6:35. I'm 6:35, and how many slides have? So friends, without getting into how many slides I can cover, let us move with the flow. I will continue for another 10-15 minutes, and then we will keep floor open for question and answer. Friends, 96B is going to hit everyone very hard, and verification has just now started, maybe a month ago. Very soon your clients will start getting such notices, and it is imperative on our part that we advise our client right now that this storm is coming and you will be hit by very hard. Please comply. So what does this rule says? This rule reads, recovery of refund of unutilized ITC or IGST paid on export of goods where export proceed not realized. So all in all, this deals with export of goods, whether exported with payment of tax or without payment of tax. If a client is exporting with tax or without tax goods, and if export proceeds are not realized, then you will be hit by 96B. This rule was introduced almost two years back, and now this rule is showing its teeth. This rule says that exporter of goods should collect sales proceed in convertible foreign exchange or INR only permitted by RBI within a time limit prescribed by FEMA. So FEMA says in normal situation, exporter should realize their invoices within a period of 9 months from the date of export. अगर आपके क्लाइंट ने एक्सपोर्ट किया 9 महीने में पैसा नहीं आया फॉरेन करेंसी में, या जहां जहां INR परमिटेड है वहां INR भी चलेगा, then he will be hit by 96B, and therefore he will have to repay. Friends, repay refund already received in full or to the extent of default, that is non-receipt, with interest to the government. अगर आपने पैसा नहीं लाया within 9 months, then whatever refund you have availed, pay back this refund to the government with interest. Whether this interest is payable, my understanding again, no. If you see machinery provision section 15, it does not deal with erroneous refund. But again, of course, there will be litigation. But all in all, पैसा वापस देना पड़ेगा, interest बाद में लड़ लेंगे. Now this applies to IGST paid export of goods as well as goods exported on LUT, यानी दोनों तरह के goods को कवर कर लिया है. You may ask, सर्विस को क्यों छोड़ दिया? सर्विस तो एक्सपोर्ट तभी माना जाएगा जब पैसा आएगा, अदरवाइज इट इज नॉट एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस. सो वहां तो ऑलरेडी ये कंडीशन था ही था. नाउ दिस कंडीशन हैज बीन इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इवन इन केस ऑफ गुड्स. However, to my understanding, this condition does not apply if goods are supplied to SEZ. It is only in case of physical export. This condition should apply. Further rule says that if RBI permits write-off, then refund need not be paid back. In many countries, there are currency situation. RBI says, "ठीक है, पैसा नहीं आने वाला. We understand you are a genuine guy, but there are some currency situation there. So we are allowing you to write off." Or if there are genuine litigation, RBI allows write-off. In that situation, Rule 96B recovery will not happen. Now you may ask, ये रेजिंग का टेस्ट कभी करना है, रिफंड के स्टेज पे कि सब्सिक्वेंटली? आंसर इज वेरी क्लियर. When you are exporting and claiming refund, 96B will not be asked. Only on completion of 9 months, this test will be checked. Agar within 9 months, if you bring back, no problem. If you could not, you will have to repay. Further rule says that exporter is expected to repay such erroneous refund within 30 days from date of default. Default means 9 months from date of export. If 9 months from date of export, if you could not bring back, or if you cannot have inward remittance in foreign currency, it is default. From that day, 30 days grace period is given. 30 दिन के अंदर you will have to inform department and pay back this amount. If you fail, department can issue show cause notice. Further, as a saving grace, this rule says that if you subsequently realize this amount, if you could not bring back within 9 months, you have paid back amount to government with interest. Subsequently, say after 15 months, you could realize this amount. Government will return, and wording says government will return entire amount, including interest, provided 2 conditions are fulfilled. First of all, you have taken permission from RBI for extension. Instead of 9 months, say 15 months or 17 months, whatever. And within 3 months of remittance, you submitted evidence to the department. In that situation, government will repay whatever amount you have paid back, including interest. So, ये सब क्यों करना है? पहले रिफंड मिलेगा, फिर वापस करने का बैच के साथ, then again, if you are eligible, you will get back your money. It seems that government is of the view that there are many hawala exports, where exports are happening, goods are going out, but corresponding remittance are not coming to India. Even in case of foreign trade policy, all your benefits are linked to remittance. Unless and until there is inward remittance in foreign currency, exporter were never given any benefits. Now GST also is moving in same direction. Paisa leke aao, so ye benefits, otherwise pay back. Now wires of this rule 96B has been challenged. In fact, there are amendment in Act by way of Finance Act 2021. This amendment are part of Act now, but not notified. So 96B, after notification, as and when it will happen, will move from rules to Act. But fortunately, till date, that has not has been done. 96B is part of statute, but 16(4) भी आगे जाके आएगा, 16(4) of IGST Act. But in future it will come. आप सवाल पूछोगे, पैसा वापस करना है, ठीक है, इंटरेस्ट के साथ पे करना है, ठीक है, can I pay back through credit? Answer is no. Agar if you are getting refund in cash, repayment will also happen only in cash. How do I get back that refund amount on fulfillment of condition? Am I supposed to file new refund application? No answer. Rule is silent. No procedure has been prescribed till date. So even after 2 and almost half years, almost 2 years and 6 months, rule is silent, and department has started invoking this rule now. So good chance that exporters who could not arrange remittance will face music very soon. Okay. 89 4C. Let me see what is relevant. Very relevant. Okay. Friends, I will try to complete in next 5 minutes. I will deal with few defense or few difficult situation. I will be very brief because of paucity of time. What if taxpayer has wrongly filed DRC03? गलती से DRC03 फाइल हो गया. What can you do now? Whether department stand that DRC03 is a voluntary payment, and that's why once you have paid, forget and forgive. Is it valid? Or you have some defense in the law? My answer, even in such situation, you can claim refund of excess payment of tax. You may say, is there any basis for my understanding? Answer is yes. Rule 86(4)(a). This rule says, where a taxpayer has claimed refund of any amount paid as tax wrongly paid. So I have paid tax wrongly or paid in excess, for which debit has been made in electronic credit ledger, if found admissible, shall be recredited to the electronic credit ledger by proper officer by an order made in form PMT 03. This very, very clearly says that if I have made any tax payment, payment can happen in cash or through credit by way of DRC 03. If I take a view or if I make an application that my tax was not supposed to be paid, or I have paid something excess than what I was supposed to be paid, an officer agrees with my argument, then I am eligible for refund under rule 86(4)(a). Now you may say that DRC 03 was filed partly through cash, partly through credit. For credit, I have rule 86(4)(a). What about cash? For such situation also, friends, we have rule 92(1)(a). By this rule, you are eligible for proportionate refund. जितना आपने कैश से पे किया उतना कैश में मिलेगा, जितना आपने क्रेडिट से पे किया, you are eligible for credit refund. So that amount will be credited to your electronic credit ledger. For some reason, if you filed refund application and then you realize that there are some errors, what can you do in this situation? Friends, you have got option of withdrawing those wrongly filed refund application by filing RFD 1W. So online process hai, and you can withdraw such refund application. But mind well, friend, this refund withdrawal is possible only up to RFD 04 stage या 08 stage. अगर आपको पार्ट रिफंड दे दिया है या सोकोस नोटिस इश्यू हो गई है, then refund cannot be withdrawn. So up to stage RFD 02 or 03 you can withdraw. Thereafter this withdrawal is not possible. You may ask, if I withdraw, what will happen to original amount debited to my electronic credit ledger account? Answer is very simple. If you file withdrawal application, then whatever debit has been made earlier will be credited. There is no loss. Okay. If refund is rejected, and reason for rejection is ineligibility of credit, officer is seeking a view that your ITC was wrong, it was not eligible, because of it is not appearing in 2A or it is bogus, whatever. Then what can you do in this situation? only option available is file an appeal. But if your refund is rejected, officer is saying there is no problem in your ITC, but I am not accepting your claim of export of service. I'm saying ITC is proper, but I'm not concurring with you in saying that it is export of service. In that situation, there might be two possibilities. Type of refund could be export on LUT or export with tax. If it is export on LUT, you've got two choices. First choice, you may give an undertaking to the officer online saying that I don't do dispute. Whatever credit has been debited earlier, you please give me my credit to my ledger account. I will not file appeal. In that situation, officer will recredit that amount to your electronic credit ledger and proceedings closed. Or if you say, no, sorry, I don't want this credit, mujhe to cash mein hi chahiye, then you have to file an appeal. If it is IGST paid refund, then you don't have any choice. You will have to file only an appeal. And rule 92 is बहुत important rule है. And this rule says that no application for refund shall be rejected without giving applicant an opportunity of being heard. Just because you have replied show cause online by filing ILFD 09, that does not mean you are heard. Rule very clearly says that personal hearing should be given. If any of your refund applications are rejected in violation of this proviso, good chance your rejection may be set aside. And this has been held by Delhi High Court in Reach Exim Solutions, recent judgment. Court very clearly said that the violation of 92(3) proviso is not tenable. Many times you will see that this rejection order are traveling beyond so cause notice. So cause notice में बोला कि आपका 36 lakhs का refund eligible नहीं है. जब final order आया 2 crore 84 lakh rupees का refund reject कर दिया. Must be taken by surprise. Earlier 36 lakhs था, now overnight 2 crore 84 lakh कैसे हो गया? Judgment, Gujarat High Court and TTEC India. There are many judgments even in past region which says order cannot travel beyond so cause notice. जो so cause में allegation किया है उसी पे order बनेगा, not otherwise. भी बहुत important है, बहुत बार ऐसा होगा. Quite possible that authority has given you hearing, personal hearing आपको बुलाया rejection के पहले. Now you were heard by Mr. X. उस टाइम का ऑफिसर Mr. X था. For some reason he went on leave. And order has been drafted by Mr. Y. He has additional charge of Mr. X. Is this valid rejection? Answer is no. Those who has heard should only pass the order. And those who has passed the order must have heard you before passing the order. Gujarat High Court and TTEC India. इसमें बहुत जजमेंट पास रिजाइन में मिलेंगे एंड बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है ये बहुत कॉमन होता है. ऑफिसर्स इन द हेस्ट दे pass the order, but please appreciate without opportunity of being heard, refund cannot be rejected, and this is not a mere formality. So friends, unfortunately I'm forced to keep few slides, but I have ensured that whatever relevant is there I have covered. Since we need to have some time for question answer session also, I request organizer to guide me on how to proceed on question answer. Will there be whether participant can unmute themselves or I need to see chat box?
Sir, I'll read out the questions for you.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a few questions. Okay. The first question is by Ms. Simran Bhojwani. So she is asking, in case of export of services, we have applied for a refund. the refund is sanctioned and received, but by mistake, we have missed one invoice in the refund application. Is there any solution to claim the refund for the missed invoice?
Okay. So Simran madam, again, no, typical case, quite possible. For some reason, you might have missed out. Now, if you see portal does not allow filing of refund application of same type for the same period. So if you applied for, say, export of service with payment of tax or without payment of tax, whatever category you have chosen, for the same month, you are not allowed to file second refund application. Does this mean you have lost this refund? My answer, no. Try filing refund under any other category, that is residuary category. Explain your case to officer. Circular 125 very clearly says that substantive benefit of export should not be denied for procedural violation. For some reason you have missed out. This is procedural violation. But if you can prove on paper that there was an export and you are eligible for refund, then whether you are applying under category A or category B, it is procedural matter. You will have tough time convincing officer, quite possible he may issue so cause notice. But that's fine. That's fine. Circular 125 will come to your rescue and good chance you will get refund.
Okay, sir. The next question is again by Ms. Simran Bhojwani. Okay. She asks, we have supplied to a merchant exporter at 0.1% for the goods purchased at 18%. Can she file a refund for the same under inverted duty structure?
Okay. So you have supplied at 0.1%. Okay. Now, madam, technically you might have procured 18% and you have supplied at 0.1. Are you eligible for inverted duty structure? Answer is yes. Circular 125 very clearly says you are eligible. In your question, you are referring to this transaction have blocked the working capital. Achha, okay, fine. So you are saying because of this, there is a blockage of working capital. Can you apply for inverted duty refund? Answer is yes. This is very aptly covered in Circular 125. Please refer this circular, quote in your reply, and apply for refund. And on third one.
So the third question I think is not clear.
No, I understood. No problem. Yeah. So friends, this deals with recent changes, wherein it has been clarified that if there is a sale of any license, that sale will not be treated as exempt sale for the purpose of ITC reversal. Now, this clarification is dated 5th July 2022. Notification was 5th July. To my understanding, queries want to ask, can he use this notification for past matters? And relying on this notification, can he apply for recredit of ITC? If I understood this question correctly, my answer would be this amendment is more of a clarificatory in nature. We will have to also go by reason why this amendment was carried out. There was a confusion amongst trade whether in case of sale of license, which is exempted supply, any ITC reversal is required. This was the most disputed question. Now government has clarified that no ITC reversal is required. So going by jurisprudence of past regime, since this amendment is curing lacuna in law, which was there prior to this verification, one may definitely try and ask for refund with a caution that good chance lower authority may not accept your view and you may have to fight till higher level to get this refund or get this recredit. But yes, on a legal ground, I am with you. This is more in the nature of clarificatory amendment, and clarificatory amendment date respect to original date. So that's my view on this.
Sir, there's one more question. Is insurance and freight standard percentage or amount showed in invoice? How does the GST Act take into its ambit unjust enrichment of businesses in case of? Okay, these are three questions, I think, sir.
Okay, understood.
These are
inverted goods in transit. Okay, so let me take one by one. In case Khemlani ji, Chandrasen ji, if I could fail to understand your question, you may unmute yourself and explain me your question. Your first question says, is insurance and freight 100% or amount shown in invoice? So I guess you are linking this with FOB amendment. If you are linking with FOB value, FOB amendment, and if I guess it correctly, then refund will be at FOB value only, whether you are mentioning standard percentage or whether you are showing some other amount. You are going to get FOB, you are going to get refund as per FOB value. Ajinkya, is it possible we can unmute Khemlani ji and understand his view on this? I guess
no, on Zoom it will be difficult. It's not possible.
Okay, not possible. Okay, fine. For some reason, if I fail to understand your query, Chandrasen ji, you are free to talk to me offline also. I'm now coming to second question. How does GST Act takes into ambit unjust enrichment of business in case of erroneous refund and trade? Friends, there is a section 54.8 and there are provisions even in GST rules. We have to first understand what is unjust enrichment, and then there are exceptions in GST Act. 54.8 very clearly says that unjust enrichment is not to be checked in case of export of goods, in case of inverted duty refund, etc. So in those situations, unjust enrichment we need not check. But assume a situation of trade note. I have applied for a refund on the ground that I have paid excess tax on account of credit note. I have raised credit note and therefore I was not supposed to pay that much amount, but I have paid and I have applied for a refund. In this situation, obviously, officer will consider whether benefits have actually been passed on to the recipient or it is merely an accounting entry. Like in case of builder, there was a clarification dated 14th May 2019, which says that if there is cancellation, can they apply for refund? Very clearly in this answer, CBIC has clarified that yes, you can apply for refund provided consideration has been paid back to the recipient within 6 months. So this condition was an extension of unjust enrichment. It should not happen that just, tax applicant is just filing a refund application on the basis of accounting entry. Actual money flow should also happen. So you have to read this in that context. Third one, if refund relates to inverted goods in transit, which of two formula is applicable? If refund relates to inverted goods in transit, sir, if goods are in transit, first of all, you are not eligible for ITC only, because unless goods are received, 16(2) condition is not fulfilled. There is no question of ITC, and if you are not eligible for ITC, question of inverted duty refund doesn't arise. I hope I have been able to guess your queries correctly. Otherwise, you can speak to me offline.
Sir, there's one more query. This I've also received offline.
Yeah.
Okay, this is particularly in relation to funds received for export of services. Okay. In case of small exporters, what is happening is that they get remittances from money transfer agents.
Okay.
So there's one particular agency called as TransferWise.
Yes.
What TransferWise does is that it converts the foreign currency into INR.
Correct.
And the money is sent as INR to Indian bank accounts.
Okay.
Now the FIRC that we get from the bank account, it states that the foreign currency conversion was taken care of by TransferWise.
Understood.
And the money was received in INR from this particular agency.
Okay.
So in this case, what is the status of refunds?
A very good question and very prominent one also. Friends, I will draw your attention to Mumbai Tribunal judgment in case of Sun area. This was service tax judgment on a similar situation or a similar identical facts. There is something called Vostro account. If remittance has been received by debit to Vostro account and FIRC clearly says that amount has been received in INR, still, my view, relying on Sun area judgment, that you are eligible for a refund. Sun area judgment, the celebrated judgment, it was widely followed by many other tribunals in service tax era. If you see, export of service conditions in service tax as well as GST is almost same. There was also condition in service tax regime that there should be inward remittance. Without inward remittance, it was not treated as export of service. Similar condition is there even in GST. So ratio of Sun area judgment and many other judgment which has followed Sun area is very much applicable even in this case. I request you to go through that judgment and prepare your defense accordingly.
So there's one last question that I have received offline. Okay. In case of recipient of a deemed export supply, okay, where the tax paid was IGST. What happens is that in case of outward supplies, IGST is first utilized. So this balance of IGST is utilized first. So the balance remaining in that ledger becomes nil. Now, in the case of these particular inward supplies, where the refund is in IGST, but the balance of IGST was used for the payment of outward supplies. How should we claim a refund of that IGST? Because the portal does not allow us to file a refund for IGST when the balance in that credit ledger is zero.
Yeah. Again, portal issue. Friends, once you work out your refund amount, maximum refund amount, then portal considers three values to arrive at actual refund amount. First, your actual refund amount, then balance in your electronic credit ledger immediately after filing 3B of that period for which you are making refund application, and third, balance in electronic credit ledger as on date when you are filing a refund application. So lower of these three is considered as the eligible amount. And unfortunately, portal doesn't understand all these things. They go by simple algorithm or their rules, and if value in either of these three is zero, then portal considers this amount as zero. Now in this situation, only to my understanding, only one escape route is available. I request you to go to Rule 97A. 97A permits manual filing of refund. There are judgments even from Mumbai High Court which says manual refund filing application is permittable even in GST because Rule 97A is still there. Portal will not allow you to file refund application, that is for sure. You will have to explore filing manual refund application and convince your officer. Good chance again, you will have some rejection, you will have some so-cause, and you will have to fight it out. In fact, I am handling similar situation in non-refund situation, non-refund matter. For some reason, we have availed certain ITC. And at that point in time, we were not very sure whether we will use those goods or we will return those goods. So I have not claimed ITC. I have not utilized those ITC. That ITC was there in my IGST ledger. Now, as you know, even if I wish, after a stage, I cannot use my CGST and SGST ledger before I consume my IGST ledger. So ultimately, at one stage, my IGST got consumed. And today, since we were in dispute, we have returned those goods. Question arises, am I supposed to pay IGST? Technically, I don't have any other, I can't use many other credits for IGST. But then problem is there. Fortunately, in this case, I can use my CGST and SGST for IGST, a different matter. If it is other way around, if it was CGST and SGST, I cannot use my CGST balance for SGST, and I would have been forced to pay tax. So these are issues, I will say final issues, and you will have to file a manual refund application relying on Rule 97A. You may have to meet officer. Even if there's rejection, you will have to fight out at appellate level. Again, Rule 120, Circular 125, substantive benefit cannot be rejected on procedural violation. And this is not even violation. This is portal imposed restriction on us. So on that ground, we'll have to fight it out. But honestly, a very difficult situation.
Okay, sir.
My request to this participant attendees who has raised this question, if possible, keep me posted on this matter also, because this is really interesting situation. You know, I don't think there is any answer, any open and shut answer on this issue. If you are pursuing this matter, please keep me posted on this. This is new learning for me also. Thank you very much for this question. Thank you.
Okay, sir. I think all the questions have been answered. I'll close the question answer session now, and I'll forward it to CA Rajesh Agarwal, sir, to give a vote of thanks. Okay, sorry, Rajesh Agarwal, sir, is not here. So I think I'll forward it to CA Ajinkya Randhima.
Yeah, thank you, Prathamesh. I thank CA Jignesh Kansara, sir, to spending his valuable time, and because today's topic refund, and he has actually taken it from all the practical aspects instead of going into theoretical. He has a vast experience in that, and he has shared his knowledge. All the question answers, those are also been answers deeply. Still, if anyone has any issues, I guess, sir, you can mail sir. Sir can reply on that. Over here, then I guess we will conclude today's session. And with the conclusion of the session, we'll also conclude the 5 days GST series. So I thank each and every one of you for attending all the 5 days. And I again thank CA Jignesh Kansara, sir, even CA Prathamesh Korkar for being MOC for today. Then we will conclude for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.